The day I walked out of that prison, I knew I was walking toward the man who destroyed my life. But what Ji-hoon didn't know was that I had spent 5 years planning this moment. 5 years learning his language, understanding his culture, and gathering evidence that would either save us both or destroy him forever. I should have turned around right then. But I didn't. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from because you need to hear this, and subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, because some secrets are too dangerous to keep buried. My hands were shaking as I held the newspaper with my release photo splashed across the front page. Wrongfully convicted woman seeks custody of secret child. The headline made it sound simple. Like I was just another desperate mother fighting for her rights. They had no idea what I'd really been doing for 5 years. Seoul looked different in the morning light. Cleaner. Colder. The corporate district stretched out like a glass and steel maze, and somewhere in the heart of it sat the man who had testified against me. The man whose child I'd given birth to in a prison cell. The Park Industries building rose 47 floors into the gray sky. I'd memorized every detail from the business magazines they let us read. Ji-hoon's office was on the 32nd floor. Corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view of the Han River that probably cost more than most people made in a year. I walked through those revolving doors wearing the only decent dress I owned, carrying a manila envelope that contained everything I needed to either destroy him or set us both free. The receptionist's smile faltered when she saw me. Something in her eyes, recognition mixed with confusion. I'd seen that look before. The look people get when they're trying to place a face they've seen on the news. I'm here to see Park Ji-hoon, I said in perfect Korean. The words fell from my lips like stones into still water. The receptionist's eyes widened. She wasn't expecting that. Nobody ever expected the Nigerian woman to speak their language better than they did. Do you have an appointment? Tell him Park Adani is here. He'll see me. I watched her fingers hesitate over the phone. Watched her glance at the security guard stationed near the elevators. Watched her make a decision that would change everything for everyone in this building. One moment, please. The elevator ride to the 32nd floor felt like ascending to Judgment Day. My reflection stared back at me from the polished steel doors. 5 years had changed me. Prison had carved away everything soft, everything naive. What remained was someone Ji-hoon had never met. His secretary jumped when I walked into the waiting area. Actually jumped. Like she'd seen a ghost. He's expecting you, she stammered. The door to his office opened before I could knock. Ji-hoon stood there in a tailored suit that probably cost more than I'd made in my last month as a lawyer. He was older. Grayer at the temples. But those eyes were exactly the same as our son's. We stared at each other across 6 feet of expensive carpet. 5 years of silence stretched between us like a chasm. Adani. Just my name. Nothing else. But I heard everything in the way he said it. The guilt. The fear. The love he thought he'd buried. Hello, Ji-hoon. I stepped into his office and closed the door behind me. The sound echoed like a prison cell locking shut. You look different, he said. Prison changes people. He flinched. Good. He should flinch. I set the manila envelope on his desk. We need to talk about our son. How did you? He stopped himself. Shook his head. You don't have any rights. The adoption was legal. Final. Was it? I opened the envelope and spread the contents across his pristine desk. Legal documents. DNA test results. Birth certificates. And something else. Something that made his face go white. What is this? Proof that everything you think you know about that night is wrong. His hands trembled as he picked up the first document. A coroner's report that had been sealed for 5 years. A coroner's report that proved the man who died wasn't killed when and where everyone thought he was. This is impossible. I had a lot of time to investigate. Prison libraries have excellent legal databases. He looked up at me then, really looked at me. I saw the moment he realized I wasn't the same broken woman who had confessed to murder 5 years ago. I was something else now. Something dangerous. What do you want? Justice. For me. For you. For our son. I don't understand. I leaned forward, placing my palms flat on his desk. You testified against me to save your family. I know that now. But what you don't know is that we were both played. Both manipulated. Both sacrificed to protect someone else's secrets. His phone buzzed. A text message. He glanced at it and his face went even paler. What's wrong? It's from my mother. She's bringing Ji-hoon to the office today. She wants him to see where his father works. I smiled. The kind of smile that had kept me alive in prison. How perfect. It's time our son met his mother. The elevator dinged in the distance. Footsteps in the hallway. A child's laughter that made my heart stop and restart. Ji-hoon, I said quietly, everything you think you know about that night, about my confession, about why I gave up our son, it's all about to change. The door opened, and a 5-year-old boy with Ji-hoon's eyes and my stubborn chin walked into the room, chattering excitedly to his grandmother. He stopped when he saw me. Tilted his head. And asked the question that would unravel 5 years of lies. Daddy, who is the pretty lady? And why does she look so sad? The silence in that office was deafening. My son, our son, stood there in his little school uniform, looking between his father and me like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Ji-hoon's mother stepped forward, her designer handbag clutched tight against her chest. I could see the exact moment she recognized me. Her face went from curious to horrified in less than a second. Ji-hoon, she whispered in English, what is she doing here? Grandmother, little Ji-hoon said, tugging on her coat, you're being rude. Daddy taught me we should always greet guests properly. The child, my child, walked right up to me and bowed slightly. Perfect manners. His grandmother had raised him well, I had to give her that. Hello, ma'am. I'm Park Ji-hoon. It's nice to meet you. My heart shattered and rebuilt itself in the same moment. This polite, beautiful boy was mine. Mine and the man who had testified against me in court. Hello, Ji-hoon, I managed. I'm a dunny. That's a pretty name. Is it African? Yes, sweetheart. It's Nigerian. His eyes lit up. Like the jollof rice. Grandmother tried to make it once but it wasn't very good. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Jollof rice is tricky. It takes practice. Ji-hoon's mother stepped between us like a shield. Ji-hoon, go sit in the waiting area. Daddy has business to discuss. But my son was 5 years old and naturally curious. Is the lady here about business? She seems sad. Are you okay, Miss Adunni? Before I could answer, Ji-hoon cleared his throat. Ji-hoon, listen to your grandmother. Please. The child obeyed, but not before giving me one last concerned look. The door closed behind them, leaving Ji-hoon and me alone with 5 years of pain between us. He's beautiful, I said quietly. Don't. He has your eyes but my stubbornness. I can already tell. Adunni, don't do this. I turned to face him fully. Do what? Acknowledge my own child? The child I gave birth to in a prison cell while you lived your perfect life? You think my life has been perfect? His voice cracked. You think losing our future, watching my son grow up knowing his mother was in prison, you think that was perfect? You put me there. I saved my family. The words hung in the air like smoke. We were both breathing hard, both fighting tears we'd been holding back for 5 years. Tell me about that night, I said quietly. Tell me about the phone call that made you testify against me. His shoulders sagged. How do you know about the phone call? Because I've spent 5 years investigating everything. Every detail. Every witness. Every piece of evidence. I moved closer to his desk. Including the things the police never bothered to look for. What are you talking about? I pulled out a photograph from my envelope. A picture of a man in expensive clothes standing outside Ji-hoon's mother's house. Do you recognize him? Ji-hoon stared at the photo. That's the man who called me. The one who said they'd hurt my mother if I didn't testify against you. His name is Chen Wei-ming. He runs a human trafficking ring between Lagos, Seoul, and Hong Kong. The man I supposedly killed? He was one of Wei-ming's victims who tried to escape. That's impossible. Is it? I laid out more photos. Your business partner, Kim Sang-woo. The one who introduced us at that conference 6 years ago. He's been laundering money for Wei-ming's operation through your company. Ji-hoon sank into his chair. Sang-woo? No, he's like a brother to me. He used you, Ji-hoon. Used your reputation, your connections, your relationship with me. When the trafficking victim tried to expose the operation, Wei-ming had him killed. But they needed a scapegoat. You're saying Sang-woo set you up? I'm saying he set us both up. I sat down across from him, the same chair I'd dreamed about for 5 years. The night I supposedly killed that man, I was at home with my sister. We were planning my wedding to you. I remember. You were so excited about the dress fitting. For a moment, we were just two people remembering better times. Then reality crashed back in. My sister Kemi came to me that night, covered in blood. She said she'd killed a man who was trying to force her into prostitution. A man who threatened to hurt you and your family if she didn't comply. Your sister killed him. In self-defense. But she was 19, Ji-hoon. A university student with her whole life ahead of her. I was a lawyer. I knew how to work the system. So you confessed to protect her. I confessed to protect everyone. Kemi, your mother. I thought if I took the blame, claimed self-defense, I'd get a light sentence. Maybe probation. But you got 15 years. Because someone made sure the evidence painted me as a cold-blooded killer. Someone who had access to crime scenes, police reports, witness statements. Sang-woo. Your best friend. Your business partner. The man who was supposed to be your best man at our wedding. Ji-hoon put his head in his hands. He visited me after your trial. Said he was sorry things had to end this way. Said you'd shown your true colors and I was lucky to escape. While he was comforting you, he was blackmailing you. Making sure you stayed quiet about anything that might lead back to the trafficking ring. The phone calls. The threats against my mother. That was all him? Not directly. But he orchestrated it. I leaned forward. Ji-hoon, I need you to understand something. When you testified against me, when you said I was dangerous, capable of murder, I knew you didn't mean it. What? In your testimony, you said I threatened to destroy anyone who got in my way. But you used the word destroy in English, then repeated it in Yoruba. Pa run. I don't remember saying that. You said it because you knew I'd understand. Pa run doesn't just mean destroy. In Yoruba, it means to expose the truth. You were telling me to keep fighting. To expose what really happened. His eyes filled with tears. You knew? All this time, you knew I was trying to help you? I knew you loved me. I knew you'd never willingly hurt me. But it took 3 years to figure out what you were really trying to say. A knock on the door interrupted us. Ji-hoon's secretary peeked in. Sir? Your mother is asking if the meeting will take much longer. Ji-hoon has school tomorrow. Tell her we need a few more minutes, Ji-hoon said. When the door closed, he looked at me with something I hadn't seen in 5 years. Hope. What happens now? He asked. Now we finish what they started. I stood up and walked to his window. Wei Ming thinks I'm broken. Thinks 5 years in prison destroyed me. He has no idea I've been building a case against his entire operation. Adunni, these are dangerous people. They'll kill you. They already tried to destroy me. What's left to be afraid of? Our son. He needs his mother. I turned back to him. Then help me make sure he gets one. Help me prove my innocence so I can actually be part of his life. How? Sang-woo is coming to your son's birthday party next week, isn't he? How did you? I told you. 5 years of investigation. I know everything about your life, Ji-hoon. Including the fact that you've never stopped loving me. The admission hung between us like a bridge neither of us was sure we could cross. What do you need me to do? I smiled, the first real smile I'd had in 5 years. I need you to trust me. One more time. That moment when my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the invitation to my son's 6th birthday party. Have you ever felt that moment when everything you believed about justice just shatters? Tell me in the comments, because right now, I need to know I'm not the only one who's been this afraid. The invitation was written in Ji-hoon's careful handwriting. Ji-hoon's 6th birthday celebration. Please join us for cake and traditional games. At the bottom, in smaller text, Uncle Sang-woo will be joining us with special gifts. Special gifts. I knew exactly what those gifts would be. More lies. More manipulation. More reasons to keep me away from my son. But this time, I was ready. Ji-hoon's apartment was in Gangnam, all glass and modern lines. I watched from across the street as guests arrived. His mother, carrying a beautifully wrapped present. His business associates with their perfect families. And then, at exactly 3 o'clock, Kim Sang-woo stepped out of a black sedan. He looked older than I remembered. Grayer. But he still moved with that same confident swagger that had charmed everyone at the legal conference where Ji-hoon and I first met. I waited 10 minutes. Then I walked across the street and knocked on the door. Ji-hoon's mother opened it. Her face went through a spectrum of emotions, shock, fear, anger, and something else. Something that looked almost like relief. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. But I am, I said quietly. And we both know why. She looked back into the apartment, then stepped aside. Ji-hoon is in his room with his friends. Don't upset him on his birthday. I'm not here to upset anyone, Mrs. Park. I'm here to give my son the greatest gift I can. Which is the truth. I walked into the living room. The party was in full swing. Children laughing, adults chatting over coffee and cake. And there, in the center of it all, was my son. 6 years old now, taller than in the photos, but still with those serious eyes that reminded me so much of his father. Sang-woo saw me first. I watched his face go pale, watched him set down his coffee cup with trembling hands. Well, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, look who's here. The birthday boy's criminal mother. The room went dead silent. Every conversation stopped. Every child looked up from their games. And my son, my beautiful, innocent son, stared at me with confusion in his eyes. Daddy, he said quietly, who is the lady Uncle Sang-woo called criminal? Ji-hoon stepped forward. I could see the war playing out on his face. 5 years of programming told him to protect his son from me. But something deeper, something that had survived prison and betrayal and lies, told him to trust me. Ji-hoon, he said carefully, this is Adani. She's your mother. The silence was deafening. Then my son did something that broke my heart and put it back together at the same time. He walked straight up to me and bowed politely. Hello, mother. Would you like some birthday cake? Behind him, I heard Sang-woo mutter something under his breath. Something about how I shouldn't be around children. How dangerous I was. That's when I knew it was time. Actually, I said, reaching into my purse, I brought a gift for the birthday boy. Something very special. I pulled out a small recording device and set it on the coffee table. This is a conversation that was recorded 5 years ago. On the night someone was murdered in Lagos. Adani, Sang-woo warned, don't do this. Not in front of the children. Oh, but I think everyone should hear this. Especially you, Uncle Sang-woo. I pressed play. The room filled with the sound of voices. Scared voices. Desperate voices. Please, Mr. Chen, I've done everything you asked. I brought the girls from Lagos. I set up the accounts. I even arranged for the lawyer to take the fall. And yet she's still investigating from prison. Still asking questions. She doesn't know anything. Her sister thinks she killed that man to protect her. Your friend's woman is too smart for her own good. Make sure she stays quiet. How? Use the child. Make sure she knows that any move against us puts her son in danger. I stopped the recording. The silence was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. Sang-woo was standing now, his face white as paper. That's not, those voices could be anyone. You're right, I said. Let me play something more recent. I pulled out my phone and played a video. Security footage from the prison visiting room. Sang-woo, sitting across from me 3 months ago. In the video, he's leaning forward, speaking quietly. You need to stop digging, Adani. For everyone's sake. Your sister has built a good life. Ji-hoon has moved on. Your son doesn't even know you exist. But I do exist, Video Me replied. And I'm going to prove my innocence. Some truths are too dangerous. Keep quiet, serve your time, and when you get out, we'll make sure you're taken care of. Fight us, and what? Accidents happen. Even to little boys. I stopped the video. Ji-hoon was staring at his best friend like he'd never seen him before. You threatened my son? Ji-hoon's voice was barely above a whisper. It wasn't a threat, it was protection. She was going to destroy everything we built. We? There is no we, Sang-woo. There never was. My son tugged on my dress. Mother, I don't understand what's happening. Why is everyone so upset? I knelt down to his eye level. Sometimes, sweetheart, adults make very bad choices. They hurt people they should protect. And sometimes it takes a long time to make things right again. Did you make bad choices? I made the choice to protect people I loved. Some people think that was bad. But I think love is never bad, even when it's hard. He nodded solemnly, like he understood something profound. Then he did something that made every adult in the room gasp. He hugged me. I'm glad you're my mother, he whispered against my ear. Daddy cries sometimes when he thinks I'm not looking. Now maybe he won't be so sad. Over his head, I saw Ji-hoon wiping tears from his eyes. I saw his mother covering her mouth with her hands. I saw the other parents pulling their children closer, not sure what they'd stumbled into. And I saw Sang-woo backing toward the door. Going somewhere? I asked, standing up but keeping my son close. This is insane. These recordings prove nothing. You're a desperate woman making desperate accusations. Then you won't mind waiting for the police to arrive and discuss it with them. His face changed. The mask of the charming family friend fell away, and something cold and calculating took its place. You have no idea what you're doing. What you're risking. I'm risking everything for my son. The same thing any mother would do. Your son will be better off without you. That's not your choice to make anymore. Ji-hoon stepped between us. Sang-woo, I think you should leave. After 15 years of friendship? You're choosing her over me? I'm choosing the truth over lies. Finally. Sang-woo looked around the room one last time. At the birthday decorations. At the children who had stopped playing to watch the adults argue. At the life he'd helped destroy and tried to keep destroyed. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, I replied, it is. He left without another word. The door slammed behind him, and suddenly the room felt like it could breathe again. My son looked up at me with those serious eyes. Will he come back? No, sweetheart. He won't be coming back. Good. I never liked him anyway. He always smelled like cigarettes and sadness. Out of the mouths of babes. Sometimes children see things adults miss. 3 weeks later, I stood in a Seoul courthouse wearing the same dress I'd worn to my conviction 5 years earlier. But everything else had changed. The courtroom was packed. International news crews lined the back wall. Human trafficking was front-page news now, and my case had become the symbol of everything that could go wrong when corruption met desperation. Ji-hoon sat in the front row with our son. Ji-hoon was wearing his school uniform, looking serious and grown-up as he clutched a drawing he'd made for me. A picture of our family, all 3 of us, standing in front of a house with flowers. All rise for the Honorable Judge Kim. The judge was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver hair. She'd been following my case since the new evidence came to light. The evidence that proved I'd been protecting not just my sister, but an entire network of trafficking victims. Mrs. Park, she said, in light of the evidence presented by the prosecution regarding the human trafficking operation led by Chen Weiming and facilitated by Kim Sang-woo, this court is prepared to render its decision. My hands were steady now. Prison had taught me patience. Investigation had taught me thoroughness. But motherhood had taught me courage. The original conviction of Park Adunni for the murder of Liu Zhongwei is hereby overturned. All charges dismissed. The defendant is free to go. The courtroom erupted. Reporters shouting questions. My mother crying tears of joy. Ji-hoon's mother, who had testified on my behalf, wiping her eyes with a handkerchief. But all I could see was my son jumping up and down in his seat, waving his drawing like a flag. Furthermore, the judge continued, this court wishes to commend Mrs. Park for her extraordinary efforts in exposing a criminal organization that has victimized dozens of women and children across 3 countries. I stood and bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Honor. But I didn't do this alone. I turned to look at Ji-hoon. My son's father never stopped believing in my innocence. Even when the evidence seemed overwhelming. Even when it cost him everything. Daddy. Ji-hoon called out. Can we go home now? I want to show Mother my room. The judge smiled. I think that's an excellent idea, young man. As we left the courthouse, reporters surrounded us. Microphones pushed forward. Questions shouted in 3 languages. Mrs. Park. How does it feel to be free? What's next for you and your family? Will you be seeking damages from the Korean government? I stopped on the courthouse steps and looked out at the crowd. Camera flashes popping like stars. People holding signs supporting justice for trafficking victims. 5 years ago, I made a choice to protect my family by sacrificing myself. Today, I learned that sometimes protecting your family means fighting for yourself too. What about Kim Sang-woo? Do you forgive him? I paused. Forgiveness was complicated. Sang-woo was awaiting trial for his role in the trafficking network. His betrayal had cost me 5 years of my life. 5 years of watching my son grow up through photographs. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing not to let someone else's choices define your future. A reporter pushed closer. What message do you have for other women who might be facing similar situations? I looked down at my son, who was tugging on my hand impatiently. Then at Ji-hoon, who was watching me with something that looked like wonder. Truth has its own timeline. Sometimes it takes years to surface. Sometimes it requires sacrificing everything you think you want to get everything you actually need. One more question. Are you and Mr. Park getting back together? Ji-hoon answered before either of us could speak. Of course they are. They're my parents and they love each other and we're going to live in the same house and mother is going to teach grandmother how to make real jollof rice. The laughter that rippled through the crowd was warm and genuine. Even the hardened reporters were smiling. From the mouths of babes, I murmured. That evening, we were in Ji-hoon's apartment, our apartment now, I supposed, and I was keeping my promise to my son. His grandmother and I stood side by side in the kitchen, and I was teaching her the secrets of perfect jollof rice. The key is the tomato base, I explained, showing her how to blend the peppers. And you have to let it cook low and slow. Patience is everything. Like love, she said quietly. I looked at her in surprise. This woman who had raised my son while I rotted in prison. Who had every right to hate me. Who had instead testified that I deserved another chance. Like love, I agreed. I owe you an apology, she continued. When Ji-hoon first told me about you, I thought you were just another young woman trying to take advantage of him. I was young. And foreign. And probably not what you imagined for your son. No, but you were what he needed. Even I could see that. She stirred the rice carefully. When you disappeared, when he thought you had committed murder, it broke something in him. But he rebuilt himself. For Ji-hoon. For Ji-hoon, yes. But also because he never stopped believing you would come back to him. Across the kitchen, Ji-hoon was helping our son with homework. Math problems and spelling words. The normal, beautiful mundane tasks of family life. Mother, Ji-hoon called out, Daddy says you're going to live with us now. Is that true? I looked at Ji-hoon. We hadn't actually discussed living arrangements. We hadn't discussed much of anything beyond proving my innocence and taking down a criminal empire. Would you like that? I asked carefully. Yes. Then you can make breakfast and help with homework and read bedtime stories and do all the mother things I see on TV. His enthusiasm was infectious. But I could see the fear in Ji-hoon's eyes. Fear that I might disappear again. Fear that this happiness was too fragile to last. What do you think, Daddy? I asked. Should Mother move in with us? Only if you want to, he said quietly. Only if this is what you really want. I walked over to where they sat at the dining table. Homework scattered between them. My son's pencil case with his name written in careful block letters. The life they'd built without me. I spent 5 years planning my revenge, I said. Planning how I'd make everyone pay for what they took from me. And now? I sat down beside them and picked up one of Ji-hoon's math worksheets. Addition problems. Simple and straightforward. Unlike adult life. Now I want to plan our future. All 3 of us. Ji-hoon threw his arms around my neck. Does that mean you'll help me with my science project? We're supposed to build a volcano. A volcano sounds perfect, I said, looking at Ji-hoon over our son's head. Sometimes you have to let everything explode before you can build something new. He reached across the table and took my hand. Are you sure? Are you sure you can forgive me for testifying against you? I'm sure I can love you despite it. The rest we'll figure out as we go. From the kitchen came the sound of rice bubbling and Ji-hoon's mother humming a lullaby. Outside, Seoul glittered in the evening light, full of possibilities we'd never imagined. Tell me in the comments, I said to no one in particular, what would you sacrifice to protect the people you love most? But I already knew my answer. Everything. And I'd do it again if I had to. Because sometimes love means going to prison for 5 years. And sometimes it means fighting your way back home. Come on, I said, standing up and pulling both my boys with me. Let's go check on that jollof rice. I have a feeling it's going to be perfect.